Good afternoon. Good afternoon. If you feel comfortable, please put yourselves on camera. If you don't, that's absolutely fine as well. So hello and welcome to today's PPMA and Matrix SCM webinar. My name is Julie Biggs and I'm a member of the PPMA board. I'm delighted that we are joined today by Chris Grimes and Siobhan Goss from our friends and colleagues at Matrix SCM. And they're going to be sharing a session with us on social values and how social values in a local authority can have an impact on the wider community. Just a couple of domestics. We are recording the session. It will be edited, so don't worry if you are asking questions and contributing, that's absolutely fine. Feel free to use the chat if you wish to do so. And we are due to finish around 12:30. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to Chris. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks, Julie, and hello everyone. So yes, I'm sure you'll have seen my face around a fair bit by now, but for those who don't know me, I'm Chris Grimes. I'm the sales director at Matrix, and as Julie says, we've got my colleague Siobhan Goss, our delightful social value expert at Matrix, to join us today. So the good news is I won't do most of the talking, so I'll shut up very soon. But as sort of Julie alluded to, we were looking really just to kind of cover social value in a bit more detail. Obviously, I know HR colleagues maybe from time to time it's not massively high on the agenda sort of thing, but it's becoming more and more important for us when we talk to our local authority colleagues and customers that we're working with, and also when we're looking to win new contracts around social value and how we can help impact local communities, and whether that's sourcing people from hard to reach communities or networks, or whether that's looking at sort of helping to re-engage people back into the recruitment stream, or wider things from that to green air initiatives and the climate emergency and everything else that you've kind of would have heard about over the last couple of years or so. So I won't teach you how to suck eggs or anything, but in terms of what is social value for us is as broad a sense as sort of an additional economical, social, environmental benefit brought to the community by a business. So, for example, as I say, it's looking at things like promoting skills, sort of around jobs. It's looking at growth around sort of helping local businesses, local SMEs to kind of have access to supply chain opportunities, something we're really passionate about at Matrix. It's around looking at sort of the social aspect of the community, so fostering healthier, safer, and more resilient communities. So that could be things. You know, I won't go into detail of what it could be because Siobhan I'm sure will cover all this sort of stuff in a second. Environmental, green space, all that sort of stuff, and innovation, promoting new ideas, and some innovation back into the community. We'd like to gloat a little bit about some stuff and trying to give a bit of credibility in terms of us and why we're talking about it. We're really trying to focus heavily on this when we're talking to our customers over the last 3 or 4 years now. And we were a finalist at the most recent Procurement Go Awards, the UK National Awards. We were a finalist alongside Essex Council, one of our customers. Unfortunately, we didn't win, but there's always next year. But it's always nice just to be recognised for the work that you've done. So that's enough for me. Over to Siobhan, just to give you a bit of background about Siobhan. Siobhan's worked with us for 5 years now. I can't believe it's been that long, Siobhan. And she's done some really amazing stuff from a social value perspective in terms of our customers that we work with, and it's been really diverse in terms of helping our customers kind of have a sort of a dedicated bespoke plan, from stuff with Redbridge Council around their sort of Holocaust memorial sort of stuff, Westminster Council in terms of green air initiatives, standing outside tube stations, handing out flyers to residents, kind of promoting sort of greener ways to travel and all that sort of stuff, through to sort of the more traditional things that you'd expect us to do as a business that's connected to staffing and helping people find work. So promoting employment opportunities to school kids and all that sort of that good stuff. So yeah, Siobhan's done some really amazing stuff, and hopefully she can share some thinking around there and how we can kind of maybe how you guys can take some of that back into your organisation. So Siobhan, over to you. I'll be your Chris Whitty. So just tell me when to go to next slides.
Thank you very much. So I want to talk about three things today. I want to talk about how social value impacts the local authority, how it impacts the local community, but also how it impacts us at Matrix. And I think that's the bit that's normally left out. Particularly smaller suppliers think, oh, social value, it's a bit of a pain. But actually for us, it's become a real asset, and it's enabled us to do stuff both in our local community in Milton Keynes and also in our clients' community. So it's been a fun 5 years. I'm going to start by talking about the local authority and the impact that social value has. I guess the expected stuff is the stuff that's really important, making council money go further, providing opportunities for local people. These are the sort of biggest rewards for successful social value delivery. But actually it goes much further than that. All the local authorities that we work with are already doing so much to support local residents. They all have amazing employability services, community hubs, and engagement opportunities. But adding social value to these contracts means that the skills and resources that we have at Matrix and that all your suppliers have can add to the existing initiatives. Perhaps a supplier might have the perfect space to host a council career fair, or a supplier might be able to provide expert marketing advice to ensure that residents can find out about these careers fairs and actually show up on the day. And an example of that is us. We participated in a careers fair at Camden last month, and our social value team ran a series of CV writing and interview skills workshops to enable the residents to take full advantage of the opportunities on offer on the day. We ran it in a separate room next to the careers fair, so people could come in, get some feedback on their CV, practice a little interview, and then go and meet their future employer all in one day. So it's just showing the value that a supplier can have, I suppose. We also think there's some value in providing opportunities for residents to get to know the council suppliers. I think this is quite important, actually. Suppliers really want to be a presence in their local community. They don't want to be nameless, faceless businesses placed all over the UK. The feedback that we've had suggests that residents like to have the opportunity to meet the businesses who they're paying for out of their money, and the people who are working within their local council. Over the last couple of years, we've also seen social value initiatives having a positive impact on council staff. And this has been a bit new and a bit different. And it was particularly as a result of things like the government's Kickstart scheme. But yeah, some of the best feedback we've received has been from staff who we've supported through different stages of their career. So we've provided employability workshops for Kickstarters going into the office environment for the first time, teaching them about office etiquette and how to make a good first impression, all those important things like offer to make the tea, essential life advice. But also things like apprentices coming to the end of their placements who might want some ideas on what to do next. Obviously, councils can't employ all the apprentices they take on. But also things right at the end of the life cycle of a member of staff, with staff at risk of redundancy and figuring out what their options are too. It's also worth noting that the introduction of the social value portal's TOMS calculator is now easier than ever to measure and report on social value delivered. It makes it really easy for suppliers to understand the many different ways in which we can add value, because I think previously, if you just say economic, social, and environmental, you think, yeah, but like what? So the themes, outcomes, and measures listed by the social value portal make it so obvious where we can add value. It's also much more accessible for SMEs because there's this whole menu of deliverables, and many of which don't even have any costs attached. So it's really straightforward. Next slide, please, Chris. So as well as a big impact on the local authority itself, it's also very important, of course, that social value gives back to the local community. And that's both our community in Milton Keynes, but also the local community of all of our clients. At the most basic level, organisations that commit to providing social value change communities for the better, both their local community and the communities of their clients, of course. Social value allows suppliers to engage with groups in the community they might otherwise not engage with on a day-to-day basis as part of their sort of normal business operations. We wouldn't normally go into schools or engage with local charities or really meet local residents, but our dedicated social value team mean that we're able to do that, and we've got the time and the resources to do that. With a large focus on the local economy, social value reminds businesses of the impact every pound they spend and the value of recruiting local people. It's so important. Our social value initiatives allow Matrix and our suppliers to meet local candidates and prepare them for local opportunities with things like our employability workshops. As well as the individuals in the community, social value can have a big impact on local VCSEs. Businesses can support the work they do by providing expert and general volunteering hours, financial donations, and business support. For example, a couple of years ago, our graphics team helped design a logo for a small local charity who didn't have a logo at all. So just a tiny little thing, takes a couple of hours out of our time, but makes a big difference to a VCSE that has very little funding. It's also worth mentioning that on every social value question we've seen in recent tenders, as Chris alluded to earlier, there's this big focus on the environment, a big reminder of all the things that we can do to have a positive impact. For reducing car miles driven, to building bird boxes to increase biodiversity, the list of opportunities that you can, as a business, give back to the environment is endless. And actually, we're learning every week of a new way to improve the environment. We love to see that. And as the TOMS calculator allows councils to set a value for each activity, the councils have got the opportunity to highlight priority areas to suppliers, which really demonstrates the understanding of their local communities. And it demonstrates that the councils are really listening to the voices of the local people, which is an added bonus as well. Next one, please. I also want to talk about the impact that social value has on Matrix itself. We're only a tiny little company based in Milton Keynes, but our whole purpose is connecting people to work. And our social value initiatives really reflect that, with this huge focus on giving people the tools they need to access good quality work opportunities. Our supply chain of recruitment experts have really helped with that, of course. They're always happy to give up a couple of hours of their time to run a CV writing workshop or help people practice for a job interview. It's also worth noting at Matrix, everyone has 2 volunteering days a year to spend in their local community or in their clients' communities. That's over 200 days per year from Matrix, dedicated to doing good stuff. And it makes a real difference. It also makes the biggest difference because it attracts great staff. The things that we focus on in our local area, things like litter picking, things like working in our own local charities, really brings a sense of sort of community engagement. Next one, please. I want to really briefly talk about our delivery of social value. We have a 3-step model, but it just shows how simple it is really. We focus on identifying priority areas for the local authority and the wider community to make sure we add as much value as possible. I really wanted to say here that the local authorities' contract management teams have been so good at introducing us as the social value team to the relevant contacts in the community. They've introduced us to schools and charities and helped us get involved in local projects and meet the people who run the community hubs and all the people where the delivery of our social value makes a difference. So yeah, the contract management teams are really key for getting suppliers delivering social value quickly and effectively. And it's something that local authorities are getting better and better at each week and each month, it seems. So that's a really good news story from us. Finally.
Next slide.
Yes, please. Little bit of promotion, not too cringe, I hope. Our social value report for 2022 is coming soon, any day now. It's just in its last stage of design. So we'll be sharing that everywhere. It's got lots of case studies of our social value projects that are ongoing at the moment, and some quotes from clients and local residents, and most importantly, plans for the year ahead. Social value is not going anywhere anytime soon, and local authorities are really helping us get the best out of it. Thank you very much. In summary, increased focus on social value in public sector procurement has got a positive impact for the whole community, the local authorities themselves, every member of the community and individuals, and most importantly, the suppliers. Suppliers don't need to shy away from it anymore. It's really a positive value add. Do we have any questions?
I've got a question, Siobhan.
Of course.
Do you think social value, so I think we all know on the call that attracting people at the moment is a bit of a challenge in terms of there's more jobs in the marketplace than there are people available for work. So, and as people become more socially conscious about the world and the impacts they have, whether that's sort of climate or whatever it might be, do you think by having a sort of a plan in place and being able to define and show what you're delivering as a council and as a supplier will help attract the next generation of people?
Absolutely. People have this social conscience, as you say, and people want to work for somewhere that's doing a bit of good in the world, particularly these younger generations, include myself in that. You know, I would only want to work for a company that I could see was actively trying to do good rather than just a tick box exercise. So I think certainly suppliers who are showing to go above and beyond the bare minimum are going to attract good staff who want to work in a nice place.
Very good. Any other questions from anyone else?
Feel free to come off mute and ask a question if you have one. I just want to follow up the conversation you're just having about the social conscience. And clearly, as local authorities, we deliver a vast array of services to our local communities. How good are we at kind of sharing what we're doing, in your experience?
I think local authorities could be a bit better, to be honest. I think you're right. Every new local authority that we go into, and when we start meeting all those key contacts at the beginning and finding out what they do, a lot of that stuff we hadn't heard of before. People running community hubs and employability hubs and volunteering schemes that if you're not a local resident and you don't live in the borough, you might not have heard about. But I think it's probably on the improve as well. I think there's lots of stuff now being shared online. Councils are getting really good at using social media and getting local people involved in that. So I think it's going in the right direction. But yeah, getting suppliers involved and using the expertise of the suppliers, using the people who, you know, have marketing expertise who can shout about all these great things, is definitely the way forward.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's obviously a key theme for the government's sort of on the government's agenda at the moment. They've obviously changing the sort of the way that they assess how they award new contracts from most economically advantageous tender. Then they're dropping the economic part of that in the new procurement sort of paper that's coming out next year. So it looks like it's going to be most advantageous tender. So it's not about the cheapest price wins it. It's about kind of what other things can we do to sort of deliver sort of benefits to the community. That certainly for the area that we're in, prices are squeezed. That we've all been through austerity for the last 12 years, or it feels like a life more longer than that, but we've all been through sort of, you know, that period where everything's been squeezed in terms of councils sort of resources, and also from the supplier side of things, the supplier margins I think are more and more squeezed. So it's then like looking at where else can we add the value, where else can we kind of deliver value back to the community and offer more bang for our buck, I guess. So I think it's going to become more and more relevant as we move into the sort of the next 5 or 6 years.
And anybody else want to ask a question? Okay, I've got another one. You talked about, you know, the links with the contract management team, but clearly some of the things that you're adding value on fit very neatly with the kind of HR community. Kind of how engaged are they in this conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's different at every single council, every single local authority, but there have been HR teams who have been heavily involved, particularly with the things around supporting council staff, of course. So we've been really involved in HR teams relating to the Kickstart scheme and the apprenticeship schemes and those difficult conversations around redeployment and how we can support there. So actually we found that it's real combination, it's real team effort within the council. It's definitely not just procurement teams or contract management teams, it's HR teams and the people within the council who run things like the council's own interwork schemes, that sort of thing. It's really a team effort when it works best.
That sounds great. And some of these will feature in the case studies that you were talking about. Yeah,
absolutely. Lots of those case studies are going to be in the social value report for 2022, which is any day it's coming out now.
And one final thing for me, you mentioned that it's now easier to measure, and you mentioned the measure. What could you just say that about?
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, I speak really quickly. It's the TOMS calculator, which stands for Themes, Outcomes and Measures, and it's run by the Social Value Portal. And more local authority tenders are using the Social Value Portal as a way to measure social value delivered by suppliers. And it's got a whole list of measures and a whole list of deliverables, and the supplier actually chooses which ones they commit to, and they commit right at the beginning of the contract, and they start delivering on these things throughout the contract. So it's really straightforward. The software is very cool. It delivers reports as well, which look nice. And it's just, it almost means that there's no excuse not to be able to track exactly what social value is being delivered.
Yeah, I think we're very much at the start of that process as well in terms of tracking the value to it, because obviously it's quite a new focus. It's obviously been around for a while, but it's been a new focus for sort of public sector. And I think certainly when I've gone and had conversations with existing and new customers, that they it's kind of, sometimes you talk about social value and they say, well, how can we track that? How do we even know what you're doing? How can we demonstrate actually the value you're delivering? So, and I think as a business, as Matrix as well, we probably underplay a little bit in terms of the value actually we deliver back. So it's really useful, that the calculator, and I think it will probably benefit and improve over time as well. Yeah,
to be able to attach a pounds value added figure to the work that you do makes a big difference, and it just makes it make sense for lots of business-minded people.
Thank you. Anything from our guests that have joined us today? Anything that you'd like to ask? Or no? Well, hopefully you found that useful, and look out for the report that's about to be published. We'll look out for that one, and share that one. We can share that link as well if you send it to us.
Yeah,
that would be good.
Brilliant, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks ever so much for your time, guys. Really appreciate that. And and if you've got any other questions, feel free to just contact us.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Siobhan, and thank you for joining us today. I hope you found it useful. We do have lots of other webinars coming up. You should get regular emails about the titles for those, so please do have a look at them. And of course, if you can't make it in person, you can always do them on catch up. Great to see you all today, and thank you very much for coming. Enjoy the sunshine.
Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.